2 minutes, you got the Kicking It with Kesey show coming up on the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. A little bit less than 2 minutes. Stay tuned. Don't go away. That boy Kesey be tripping. The Kicking It with Kesey show coming up in about a minute and a half. Don't go away. Kesey, keeping it real as usual, coming up in about 1 minute right here on the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. You're about 30 seconds away from the Kicking It with Kesey show, right here on the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. Don't go away. Keep it locked.
To you that we are here today to address the black agenda, an agenda that deals with the needs and suffering of our people.
You reached another episode of the Kicking It with Kesey show. And today's episode is a pretty interesting one because right now, for some reason, it just seems like relations amongst the masses has gone amok. And what I mean by that is, all right, the title of this show is My Best Friend is Black. Okay. All right. So my statement here, first off, is that yes, I have a diverse group of friends and family, coworkers, and everything else. So I am around a lot of different ethnicities. I grew up with a lot of different ethnicities of people. I actually went to school with all kind of nationalities. The majority of it was, I think, were mostly whites at my school. And I think it was 60-40. We had 40% black, 60% white. Or maybe I'll say 59% white, 40% black, and then 1% other. So anyway, I grew up around a lot of different people. The neighborhood I grew up in, we probably were like when we first got there, we were probably one of 4 families of African-American families in my neighborhood. It definitely changed over the years and really filled out, became more of a 50-50 thing. Like I said, I have a listenership of people from all over the country, all over the world that listen, of all different ethnicities. So I want to put that out there, that this is not necessarily going to be looking at the title, you're thinking, okay, this is anti-white. And my purpose here is pro-black is not anti-white. I actually have spoken with a couple people on that pro-black and anti-white are not the same thing. And then they say, okay, what about pro-white? If we're pro-white, are we looked at as racist? I'm like, okay, let's put this in perspective. The whole country, the whole world, the whole country definitely is already pro-white. Let's think about it. The history that we learn, everything, the corporations that are run, the banks that are run, the mortgage companies that are run, the wealth in the country, all that stuff is already there. So there's no need necessarily to be pro-white, because that's the world we live in already. You know, it just looks like arrogance by boasting or having to say that, okay, we're pro-white. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Everything you do is already that. You know what I mean? And there's no and don't mix this up with having pride in your heritage. Because yes, I've seen, Irish Americans or, people of other ethnicities by saying, okay, we are very proud of our heritage. That's fine. That is nothing wrong with that at all. So, like I said, I've actually discussed a lot of these topics with different people. So I just wanted to put that out there first, that no, this is not going to be a bashing or hate the white man, kill the white man, none of that. It's nothing like that. Because like I said, I have a diverse listenership here. I'm just trying to get you to understand our perspective. We've seen that a lot, and we're not doubting, you know what I mean, when we're in the middle of a debate or we're talking about race relation. We see that a lot where a person says, hey, I understand. No, I'm not racist. My best friend is black. That's a lot of times what the retort or the explanation is from said individual. All right, we're not doubting that, okay? That your best friend may be black. However, you do not have the same experience. You do not have the same, what to say? You have not gone through the same thing that we've gone through. There are things that you have never experienced and you never will. There's things where you have privilege and you don't even know that you have that privilege. If you go for a job interview, they can relate to you being of the same color, same background, same culture, same experiences, more so than a person of color. Now, let me break this down because it's going to be people. I'm going to lose some people. I'm going to lose a lot of people here because I got a lot of listeners here from all over. I got a very diverse listenership here. And you won't necessarily get what I'm saying because you're not in my shoes. African American listeners probably will because they can relate to what I'm saying here. All right, let's go ahead and break down the first thing here. We'll talk about recent events here. After the Super Bowl halftime show, that was the Beyonce halftime show where she did her new song Formation. All right, so the song Formation was basically a stand or a ode or a celebration of the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers were coming up on a anniversary. I can't remember how many years it's been for the Black Panther formation, but there's a lot of talk recently more about it because of their formation. It's coming up on the anniversary of the formation of the Black Panthers. There was also a documentary that came on a week or so ago on PBS. Excellent documentary, I must add. And so when this came out, when this debate came out in regards to her quote unquote supporting a black extremist organization, a lot of stuff went on Facebook and the social media sites where people had issues with it and were saying, okay, how can she go around and do this? And people are already up in arms when it comes to the Southern rebel flag, but yet she can go on to a halftime show and show her support for this extremist group. First off, and then there was other things that say, okay, why is this okay, which would have on one side the Black Panthers, but not okay, and it had the KKK. So I had to go into defense on this because, and I'm just gonna say that it's ignorance. People do not understand that word ignorance. Not to say that you're stupid and that you're an unlearned person, but this particular situation you're not very familiar with. You were never taught. All you know that is the Black Panther was an extremist organization that went around and killed white folks. That's what you were taught. That's what you learned. That is so far from the truth. So I had to break down, and I had to actually go into a lot of the different debates on the Facebook groups and things where people were going back and forth with it. But I actually had to get into some conversation with people to say, okay, it's not the same thing. There was not over 3,000 people killed by the Black Panthers in an attempt to remove or eradicate the race because you did not like the color of our skin. It's not the same thing. The Black Panthers were not anti-white. They were more pro-black. The Black Panthers party was created and formed as a group to self-police our communities against certain atrocities that were being performed by us, by extremist groups, by racists, and by police brutality that was occurring based upon the color of our skin and being at the wrong place at the wrong time, driving while black and all that other good stuff. So the Black Panther movement, or Black Panther Party, or the Black Panthers actually were a group of guys who formed and used their rights, the United States civil rights of being able to bear arms. They actually all took to arms and they said, okay, we're going to observe atrocities occurring in our neighborhood. So if somebody was pulled over, they would stand at a certain amount of feet away from the crime scene or the scene that the police were doing. You know, they pull somebody over, they'd make sure that it was handled in a diplomatic manner. They didn't jump in there and say, hey, you don't have a right to arrest this person. They made sure that it was handled in a, and this is how it first started. It was handled in a civil manner without police brutality. So that is totally different from an extremist organization like the KKK. Let's see, what else do we got here? The police are upset that they feel like she blatantly disrespected her. That she blatantly disrespected them, and they are refusing to provide security to her shows that are coming up. So I saw something quite interesting. One, I saw that the Nation of Islam said they'll pick up the slack and provide security at the shows if necessary. So they said they are interested. It also opens up the opportunity for a security company to get in where they fit in and be able to probably make a great profit and a great opportunity for them to provide security during those dates. So I'm gonna go with my thoughts here now. The raising of certain issues that occurred, I can't say that they're necessarily, the policeman's eyes, maybe they can feel like, okay, it's disrespectful to us. But, I believe the policemen are like a brotherhood. They ain't gonna never just come out outright. I only seen one online that maybe has said something about the blatant, obvious incidents of brutality or they were in a wrongdoing. A lot of them ain't gonna say much at all, and it'll be very hard for them to come out and speak against it, and I guess rightfully so, because they don't want to lose their job. You know what I mean? They're like, okay, you got a problem with that policeman in Cincinnati? They pretty much are making generic blanket statements like, yeah, it should be dealt with accordingly, and those police officers that are doing this or that, they should be removed. They're not saying a whole lot. There's not really a lot of emotion behind their statements. It's more so a blanket statement that may distance them from such situation. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pause for a break, and when we get back, we'll continue on with this topic.
All right, let's pause for a break.
Whole Team Enterprises a full-service graphics and marketing company that will take your company's image to the next level, specializing in graphic design, web hosting, printing, video editing, event planning, and more. They are cost-effective, professional, and have an awesome quick turnaround. Please give them a call at 888-755-0036 or visit them online at www.wholeteam.com. Be sure to get your car serviced by the professionals at ICN Services, located in the Buckhead area of Atlanta. They are a full-service automobile concierge service who are an on-site automobile detailing provider with the advantages of their come-to-you service. Your car can get their needs taken care of while you continue your day. They will take your vehicle to appointments, inspections, repairs, returns, and more. Find them online at www.itscleannow.com or reach them at 404-934-0675. Go see my guys at Platinum Auto Accessories in Lithonia, Georgia. They can get your car audio needs tight. In addition to the audio enhancements, they specialize in visual enhancements for your car as well. Lighting, rims, alarm systems, remote starts, and more. Visit Kevin and James with some of the best deals in the Atlanta metro area. Conveniently located at 2648 Lithonia Industrial Boulevard, off I-20 and the Evans Mill exit. Also give them a call at 678-323-7888. Mention this ad for a special discount. Friends of the Kicking It with Key C show.
You've reached Kicking It with Key C show.
I'd like to thank you for listening, our sponsors, and for continuing to support me in my endeavors. You can listen directly at keyc.com. You also can listen on the mobile apps throughout the different mobile platforms through the BlackBerry. I know that sounds funny, but yeah, there are a lot of BlackBerry users out there still. Android, going to the Google Play Store, and also for the iPhones on the Apple Store. Also, I'm found on iTunes, Google Podcasts, of course Spreaker, Stitcher, Mixcloud, a variety of different places, or definitely, like I said, directly on the Kicking It with KeyC mobile app or keyc.com. So anyway, let's get back to what we were speaking about. Very interesting, like I said, before we went to the break. We spoke about the different viewpoints, the different vantage points or insights that us as African Americans have as opposed to those other races. All right. We're going to continue talking about certain things. I'm not gonna talk about the media, but there are certain keywords and certain buzzwords, certain disrespectful words that are used. But it was reported that one of the former Bronco players, after Cam Newton, I know we spoke in detail about Cam Newton, and of course I defended Cam before the Super Bowl, and I also have to get on Cam Newton for not carrying himself as an elite or Super Bowl quarterback during his press conference. Of course, he's a 25-year-old man. I think he's 25, but anyway, he didn't carry on like he's supposed to during that press conference. But I didn't talk about the man's character. All I said is, okay, hold your head high. If you're gonna dab and celebrate while winning, you also have to hold your head high in defeat and also answer difficult questions and do the press conference like you should. But I didn't turn around and do like Bill Romanowski, the former Broncos linebacker, and call him boy. You know what I'm saying? That's a buzzword to say, okay, using a word such as that. In good times, the show that used to come on in the 70s, Like Michael Evans said, boy is the white man's racist term. So Bill Romanowski actually should have been slayed by many of his fellow co-players and other NFL Hall of Famers for the use of such inflammatory words like that. That was a ridiculous display from him to say such things about a grown man who's making millions of dollars. He's a has-been, and Bill Romanowski also was, caught up on that whole steroid thing and was a dirty player himself. So that's the disrespect that goes out there. I also have spoken in the past about other things when it comes to certain buzzword and keywords when it comes to a black person, and that's the use of the word thugs. You know what I mean? If it comes down to a group of black people doing something, they're known as thugs. And it's starting to be a huge concern when it comes to a group of people. And yet, in the same token, when you have a group of whites who are disruptive or carrying on, they're not called that. They're called whatever else. They'll say, okay, this person was this, or they're mentally challenged, or whatever they say. It's not the same buzzwords being used. It's blatantly disrespectful. All right, so we'll move on from that because I've already been down that path before in the past. Look at the way that the Peyton Manning news or the story that has come out a week or so ago. All right, this of course was a story in the past, okay? But does Peyton Manning get a pass in this situation? No, he shouldn't, because the story is ridiculous that the University of Tennessee covered up in regards to the sexual harassment allegations that the trainer had against Peyton Manning. And I know there's probably been a lot of news stories out there. People probably have already followed this. I'm not going to beat a dead horse because you probably have heard all the details on it. But my thing is, it's not slayed. It's not all over the media. It's not. He's not getting basically decapitated through the media like said other players that have done things like this of another color. Peyton Manning is a media darling right now. He's on several commercials. He's got endorsements. He just won the Super Bowl. So the treatment, like we said, is a tad bit different. They handle certain people with what they call it, kid gloves. Your Tom Brady's, your Peyton Manning's. Hell, even Roethlisberger didn't even get slain through the media as bad as a Michael Vick. You know what I mean? Raping a female or whatever. You know what I mean? As opposed to killing a dog. So we're not even gonna go through all that because it's gonna be pet lovers killing me on my thing. But hey, what we're saying is equal harassment, equal media blitzes, equal use of buzzwords and language being used and all that type of stuff amongst everybody. You know what I mean? And it's just a society we're coming up in. Tying into that, the Johnny Manziel incident. This guy right here has never been called a thug for slapping his girlfriend. I had to refrain myself, but slapping his girlfriend, nearly causing her to go deaf. I'm not seeing him being slain all over the media like that. You know what I mean? They're handling these stories with a little more care, as opposed to the story with Greg Hardy or my guy running back out of Baltimore. You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting point when I call it double standards in the media. We went through that already as a topic, so I'm not going to keep harping upon that. I'm just bringing up key points to state my case here. Oscars, Grammys, artists. Let's jump into the music part of this thing. You know what I mean? When it comes to the movies that we watch here, the first blatant disrespectful movie out right now is the Gods of Egypt movie. I mean, really. there is no African Americans playing Egyptians. Are you serious? And then the company that made this movie have come out with an apology for their lack of awareness or not even utilizing African American actors for the Egyptian movies. Now I have counterparts. I have whites and other people of other ethnicities listening to this right now. Like, why does it matter? Who cares? Are you serious? I mean, really, if we look at a historically white area and we say, okay, Idris Elba is going to play the Irishman here, or we'll use Denzel Washington as a Viking. I mean, let's really break this down. This has been happening for years for us for a long time. You could look at a lot of the old biblical movies, but now that we're in a time frame where, quote unquote, everybody's equal, you cannot use the proper casting for the characters that should be portrayed as such. Egyptians, I'm sorry, are not white. They're not fair-skinned. They're not light people. I mean, seriously, that is the most blatant, disrespectful thing, is that you couldn't cast the movie right. So then, up to the point where the movie house had to turn around and apologize for this. So that's that with the Oscars. I know I'm going fast here because I got so many points to get across here. All right. Grammy Award winners of the past. I'm not going to talk about this year, but they talk about performances, and the best performance and stuff. But they're skipping over the huge and the awesome and the powerful performance of one of our hip hop artists, Kendrick Lamar, who actually toned down a little bit of his performance because he didn't use certain words and things that he had in the actual video. But it was a powerful performance, and it was very pro-black, but it was not highlighted. You know what I mean? It was an awesome, powerful performance, but it was not one of the main highlights that are being shown post Grammy Awards. All right. When I'm going into the music, let me keep going here with this. All right. When it comes to music, let's break this down. First off, we're in a crazy music scene right now. We're in an absolutely crazy music scene because when you look at the artists that are out right now, you look at the artists that are shining and are thriving well. You look at Adele, okay? I love Adele. Adele has great music. Nothing against Adele. We're not gonna talk about the artists themselves. We're just gonna talk about the establishment of the labels and the marketing behind these artists. Okay, so you had Adele, and year before that, or maybe 2 years ago, you had Sam Smith. Okay, these artists are now from the European market. Okay, we now have to look over R&B artists here in our area and go find a European white artist that is now the savior of the sound. You understand what I'm saying? There's females who sing just as good as Adele, songwriting just as good as Adele, but yet they don't have the same marketing prowess here. They're not crossed over into 4 or 5 different major categories at the same time just because of the color. You know what I mean? So what I mean by that is, okay, take a black artist. Let's take what's the girl name? I think it's Amelia or something. I can't remember. But there's several of them out there. But just take a European artist that's black, making the same song as Adele. She made Hello. Will she be a pop artist? Will she be played across pop stations as well as adult contemporary, as well as R&B, as well as whatever else? What other genre? And sometimes even the jazz station may play it. You know what I mean? So will this same artist be afforded the same luxury? Probably not. The same thing happened with Sam Smith here. Sam Smith popped across several genres, and based upon this color, he did well. Now, an example is, okay, we have the same production team that was behind Sam Smith, and that production team actually put out Mary J. Blige. She actually used the same production team as Sam Smith, but her music did not cross over or do any of that type of stuff. It actually was just R&B, pretty decent R&B album, but it didn't sell nowhere near as Sam Smith. And the same thing with, okay, let's say Joe covering Adele. It wasn't original for he didn't write it and he didn't originally sing it, but his rendition is actually being played on the R&B stations. They would not play that probably on any pop station, even though it's the same exact song. Joe was never afforded the same luxury as a Sam Smith or an Adele, and he could sing, he could write songs, but he's not hailed and lauded as big as the European artists. You know what I mean? And the same thing goes on with other artists in our genre, such as Maxwell, Music Soul Child, Jill Scott, Sade. None of those. And Sade is a worldwide artist, but she still never really achieved the super pop status that some of these artists did. And this is a different time period, so I'm not gonna harp on her. I have to compare apples to apples and apples to oranges. All right. What else we got here? The music, you know, I can do a whole podcast on music. We'll take another break here. When we come back, we will wrap it up with some more of this topic of the racial inequalities.
All right, let's pause for a break.
Next time you're in the need of video production or editing, give my guys Masterminds Production a call. They're based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and they specialize in short films, concerts, music videos, sporting events, promotional videos, commercials, weddings, fashion and photography, all at affordable rates to accommodate your budgets. You can reach them online at www.mastermindtv.net or give them a call, 678-420-8494. Mastermind Production.
If you're a fan of the Kicking It with Key C show, you also can find my app on all of the different mobile outlets, on the Google Play Store, on the Apple Store, and also on the BlackBerry world. You can find me on Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Mixcloud, iTunes, and more. Be sure to download the mobile app.
www.keyc.com. That's www.kysii.com.
You've reached Kicking It with Key C show.
The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner. The revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart.
Welcome back to the Kicking It with Key C show. Yeah, that was Gil Scott Heron with The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. I brought that in coming off the break. Thanks for supporting us again. You can find me again at keyc.com or in the mobile app store, the Kicking It with Key C mobile app. If you're following me on Spreaker, if you're listening to me on Spreaker, you also can follow me. There's a button that says follow, and that will allow you to get alerts of when I go live or when I upload a new podcast or whatever. So let's jump right back into this thing. We were speaking in regards to the racial inequalities in the music industry, in the film industry. The crazy thing here is, like I said, people won't see this. People seem to think that everything is equal still. Let me really get into this, because this is where there is a struggle for a lot of people to understand. All right, we're not equal. You may have grown up as poor, on the poor side of town. You might be white and grown up in the trailer park. You know what I mean? Your father may have been blue collar, worked for everything, get you through school, all that stuff. And I've had this debate on Facebook with a couple people. They're like, yeah, I didn't get nothing handed to me and this and this and this. All right. This is the point here. Okay. Maybe you didn't have generational money handed down through to your family, but at some point up above you, yes, you did. And it may not have trickled down to your family, but there was some generational money up at the top, because you were the original, you know what I mean, people here in this country. So it might not have been you directly, and you may not have benefited directly, but that's you as a minority. That's you as a minority when this occurred. But let me get a little further here. All right, you still have advantages, and what I mean by that is, okay, if I send in my resume for a job, my name is Kysie, Kysii. Your name is Bill Smith. We're going for the same job. The first thing they look at, okay, is the name. Okay, it's already formulated. Okay, this guy probably is not American. He's not white American, I should say. He's not Caucasian. He's either from another country, or he may be one of those African Americans with a weird name. So that first preconceived notion comes up. The second thing is once you get into the interview, they can relate to your look. You know what I mean? You may be a clean cut white fellow, or you may even have longer hair or a beard or whatever. If I come in and I have dreadlocks or cornrows, or my hair is a certain different way, then that may lead to intimidation. I'm already prejudged. You know what I mean? I might look like the guy that was in the on the news. You know what I mean? I might look like the guy that was on the news that you saw knock somebody upside the head or whatever, or rape an old lady or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So you develop that. You develop that thought process because that guy had cornrows. I have cornrows. But you don't do that same. You don't have that same feeling if you see a guy that had long shoulder length hair or had his hair pulled back and he's white. You know what I mean? It's different. The same thing is, okay, you can relate to the way he dresses, or the way he walks, or the way he talks, or something in his story where he say he's from, or what side of town he's from, or whatever. But me, by saying anything different, like, okay, I'm from this side of town, and you might get a thought about a certain side of town that I say that I'm from or I live in, or by my name, or by somebody that I relate to, or whatever school I went to. You know what I mean? If I say I went to Booker T. Washington High School in Southwest Atlanta or whatever, you know what I mean? You get a certain preconceived feeling here based upon what I'm saying. So that is major. So that's what I mean by saying we're not equal. So the other part I said was there's generational money, there's generational wealth that comes down from a lot of families down where you have an advantage. You have, when you go for a mortgage, you're not discriminated against as opposed to African Americans. We have been. There's already documented banks who are now in lawsuits right now because they admitted that they discriminated against a group of people, a race of people. And the same thing with jobs. People have been passed over leadership positions for the same thing. Schools, people didn't get into certain schools, same thing. So there's an agenda by certain groups. They felt like affirmative action is not cool. They felt like, okay, this is a handout again for African Americans and coloreds. There's no handouts here. You don't understand. We are still behind. We were at 400 years of slavery. We're hardly removed from 400 years of slavery. We've made it maybe a decade or two past that, but we didn't have money laid. We didn't have properties laid. We didn't have roots and foundations laid underneath us to allow us to be afforded these luxuries. And like I said, you may yourself as a personal family not have those luxuries, but your grandfather or somebody else that is related to you did. We don't. It's a rarity that we even had our own businesses. If we had a business in the 1920s, we still had to pay our money to the white man who decided that we get this amount of scraps or this amount or we're allowed this amount of property. So it is not equal. People want to say it's equal. Okay, we have a black president, but yet he's still being a puppet to the strings of what the country can dictate for him to do or not do. The Congress. I mean, you don't. I have to get too deep here on y'all. You don't understand that just because you see a corporation or a company that has a black leader, that black leader had to jump through hoops, and he's still not afforded the same level of respect. Just like this president, the most disrespected president in history right now as a black man. Disrespected. They call him monkey. They've there's been a lady put her finger in this man's face. Are you serious? It's out of control. And we're not even going into politics. I'm trying to keep the politics off the table because you're going to have people saying he's the worst, this or that. So, it's hard for me to really make you understand if you don't have the same perspective. It's hard for you to have the same perspective here. But they're all day, every day. You can see, all right, you've seen the police brutality cases. You've seen a guy walking away from the cops and get thrown on the ground and beat before he even surrenders. That actually came out a week ago. You've seen the disrespect of Serena Williams, who's one of the greatest one of the greatest tennis players of all time, who's disrespected by the media, who says that she's built like a man. They're not saying that against Steffi Graf. They're not saying that against some of these other European white girls who have a smaller build or smaller frame. But yet Serena has to be submitted. I mean, has to go under this type of scrutiny or this type of mockery or this type of disrespect for her. Let's continue on, man. If you look at different message boards about any topic on a lot of different newspapers, the Daily Press, where I'm from in Virginia, the AJC.com, where I'm also from in Atlanta. Look at the comments under a lot of articles. Everything takes a race spin to it. They feel like we have a chip on our shoulder and we're going to say everything is racial, this and that. It is not that. And in some cases, you may see people who do that. But I'm just saying, do not be blinded by the issues that are at hand here. Racism is still well and alive here, even if you don't think that it is in your head. You, at some point in time, have a feeling or a different opinion from someone else of a different color. Another one of the times and things that I want to discuss was an annual event that occurs in Charlotte, North Carolina, entitled the CIAA tournament. That's the Central Intercollegiate Association. I think that's what it stands for. Anyway, it is a historically black college and university basketball tournament. Has been going on for, I don't know, over 30 years plus. And they decided to have it annually in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, although it is a large basketball tournament, it has kind of increased in attendance from just a basketball tournament into a weekend event. So now the parties that surround the basketball tournament have become widely popular. You have day parties, you have evening parties, you have concerts, you have different things that go on during that same time period. So the city is actually filled pretty much in all parts of town, all the hotels, all the restaurants with black attendees. Now, nothing wrong with that, of course, but the thing that has actually have come out probably over a year or so ago was there was a hotel and several restaurants who decided to add an additional fee onto the paying customers. They actually had on social media a photocopy of the receipt, and it showed service charge 18%, 25%, stuff like that was added on to the receipt for just CIAA. Now, this same city actually held the NCAA tournament also, which is a bigger tournament with even more teams, but they held an event the same year, or it may have been previous year, but they did not have the same surcharge at the hotels, and of course the hotels and the restaurants and all the different places were packed as well. And then maybe they didn't have the parties and all that stuff going on, day parties and evening parties, but I'm sure they had some other events. But nonetheless, there was no surcharge. So this occurred, and it also put a hourglass on some of these hotels and unequal inequality amongst patrons of different colors going to these events that occurred in Charlotte. So I thought about that because over the past weekend, the CIAA tournament occurred again. I do not know how it was in attendance, but I'm sure it was widely attended, just like always. And the crazy thing is I actually saw an article that came out from a publication out of Charlotte that said that there was a flight of people, namely, the whites in the area, who actually have left during that weekend because they didn't want to have to deal with the hordes and amounts of crowds of black people. Now, we put this on social media, and of course there were some people who said, no, we moved or we left out of town and went on vacation because of the fact that it was, a large amount of traffic and traffic jams and all that stuff. So that's what they tried to say it was. But you could tell from the tone of the article that went out that it was, a lot larger. Like I said, it was other things that were occurring when it came to the movement of people leaving. You know what I mean? So it goes on. It's a widely popular event. It's a lot of black people, a lot of parties, maybe hip hop based, and with that, for some reason, and that's another topic, is does hip hop breed trouble in the crowd that listens to it, etc. So that goes on too. The insurance is higher when it comes to hip hop and urban clubs. So there's a lot of different things that go into a factor there, and I don't know how long the event, the CIAA, will continue going on in Charlotte, but it's a known thing that's been occurring. Like I said, I try to fit all this stuff into one topic here, but I've been going on and on with different examples of how everything is not necessarily equal and smooth, peaches and cream, without any underlying racism. We didn't touch on any of the police brutality issues. I just want to go and demonstrate to those who are my listeners who just do not understand the viewpoint or the vantage point that you may have by just simply being of a certain race. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for listening again, Kicking It with KC show. We will continue having engaging topics. Please feel free to comment and jump in at any time if you have a discrepancy that you feel, or if you have to comment on something that I said. Feel free to do so. I'm always welcoming comments and everything. So thanks again for Kicking It with KC. We'll catch you on the next podcast. Remember to keep God first, and we're out.
This is a warning, another cut to move on. Another beat that's so strong, hold on, and I get wicked and then some. Stir up shit as the wit gets wisdom. P-Dog coming up, I'm straight low. Pro-black and it ain't no joke. Coming straight from the mob that broke shit last time. Now I'm back with a brand new sick rhyme. So black, check time and tempo. Revolution ain't never been simple. Following the path of my for no just build your brain and will soon make progress. Page your dues, don't snooze or lose. They can't